Hello, everyone. Wow, another Wednesday stream, the 74th last time I checked. This is a very exciting one because I am joined by Kamran from Roadmap.sh. Here it is, the front-end developer roadmap. Look at it go. Lots of exciting technologies and learning routes, I would call them, to talk about. Yes, stay tuned today, and we're going to be discussing how you can tackle learning to become a front-end developer or developer in general. We're going to be talking about what you should know, what you don't need to know, how to make things seem less overwhelming, and any questions you have. That's right, we do these things live so that we can ask all the questions you want to know. So if there's anything on your mind, please drop it into the chat and let me know where you're tuning in from. Have someone from Ecuador. Wow, hello. And we have Christine and Zaid, some Scrimba favorites. But first, a massive warm welcome and a thank you for joining us to Kamran.
Thank you for having me, Leanne.
Yeah, excellent to have you here. A very useful resource and some really useful advice as well for anyone who's learning to code. Let's kick it off with what is Roadmap and who is it for?
Sure. So Roadmap is a community effort. So we provide a set of charts, like interactive visuals for different roles and skills. So if you're a beginner or the intermediate developer or a senior developer, you are looking to get into some field and you don't know like where you should start. So we provide the paths for that. So we used to have like only skill-based roadmap, the role-based roadmap before. We used to have front-end, back-end, and DevOps. But with the help of community, we have extended it a lot. So now we have a skill-based roadmap as well. And we have the role-based roadmaps. We have around 18 roadmaps at the moment on the website. And we're working on a lot more, working with the community to polish and add more roadmaps, add more content to the roadmaps. And we also have a YouTube channel where we post the visual guides, like visual content we explain with the graphics. So that's about it. We are also like open source. It is the 6th most starred project on GitHub. We get visited by around 500,000 visitors every month. And there are like around 4 to 5 million page views every month on the website.
Wow, pretty impressive. Here is the YouTube channel you mentioned. Go and check it out after this stream. Lots of cool little videos, which will really help you out. So in case you don't know, I am here from Scrimba. We currently teach front end. Hopefully back end is coming in 2023. So let's have a look at the front end roadmap. Here it is. Tons of stuff, but as you can see, there are some personal recommendations or opinions. There are some alternative options. So, for example, you can learn Yarn or PNPM. And then there are some things which you can learn in basically any order. So it doesn't matter where in the roadmap you do it. How did you decide the topics to go into this front-end roadmap then, Kamran? Because this is a question we get asked quite a lot at Scrimba. How do I know what to learn next? How did you, I want to say narrow it down, but obviously it's still quite broad. How did you select the technologies to go in here?
Sure. So the first version of the roadmap was made live in 2017, in the early 2017, at the end of 2016. The first version was just based on my opinion. So based on my roadmap that I took to be where I am. So it was based on that. But over the past 6-7 years, it has been involvement from the community as well. So a lot of people have contributed to the website as well. If you look at the top, we have a button called Suggest Changes. So people can come to the website, they can recommend some changes as well. And then it is also reviewed by the people as well. So like depending on that, looking at the job postings and like how the text seems like, environment seems like based on surveys, the Stack Overflow and state of JS and state of CSS and the surveys like this. So most of the topics have been decided like in that manner.
Beautiful. Yeah. Good to know that you're open to suggestions as well from the community. That's always a good sign, I think. Thank you all viewers letting me know where you're tuning in from. We have Kenya. We have Ivory Coast, Romania, Cameroon, Luxembourg. Oh, I'm thinking of going to Luxembourg soon. Hello. Welcome back to Jolene. I would love to say hello to all of you, but then we spend the whole stream doing it. But thank you all for coming. Very pleased to have you all here. So looking at this, I don't know how many things are on here. Quite a few, I'm guessing, Cameron. Are they all essential, or are there certain basics that a front-end developer really should know, which are the absolute essentials, if you will?
Sure. So looking at the roadmap, I mean, roadmaps are for everyone, like beginner, intermediate, or senior. So anyone can go and get the idea about what they want to learn and get started with that. But looking at the roadmap, if you look at the number of topics we have in there, it could be like quite intimidating for the beginner developers. So my advice, we are working on something to build for the beginners separately. So there will be like, when you come to this page, we'll have like selection. Are you a beginner developer, intermediate, or a senior developer? And depending on your expertise, we are going to redirect you to a different front-end roadmap. But looking at this roadmap, if you are just a beginner, all you need is like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to get started. So you don't need to look at the roadmap at all. So just start with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Learn these, build some projects, start working on the projects, deploy some projects on GitHub pages or some stuff like that. And then once you have that, then work on the version control, learn about the Git and GitHub, and then take it from there. So all you need to have to start with is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and that's it. And make projects and everything you will learn along the way. Looking at the roadmap, like if you're an intermediate developer, so it is mostly for those, like I don't know, for example, if I'm an intermediate developer and I don't know like what should I learn next, or I don't know like how to rate my skill set on the front end, I can come and I can see like where I'm lacking, where I need to focus more on. Let's say that I know about JavaScript, but I don't know about, let's say, the ES6 or let's say like modular JavaScript or whatever. You can come and you can get the idea about those topics from here. But again, for beginners, pick up HTML, CSS, JavaScript, make projects, learn about GitHub, and start making. And you will learn everything along the way.
Interesting. That is very good news for us because, wrong one, over on Scrimba, we have our front-end developer career path, which is a similar approach. But this aims to teach people what they need to know to get their first developer job. And we focus very heavily on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We also go on to React and a bit of UI, but the main, I'd say the bulk of the first half of it at least is what you suggested, Cameron. So check that out if you haven't already. We also have some free resources for learning HTML, CSS, and JS as well. I'm interested in this idea of building projects, Cameron. Do you have any particular projects in mind? And is it advisable to build something completely new, or should you be following a tutorial? Or do you have any tips for approaching that?
So I would recommend that. So once you're learning, so don't delay building the project. You should build projects as soon as you start. So let's say that you are completely beginner and you're learning HTML. So instead of waiting for CSS and JavaScript to build something, so look at the website that you use. For example, you are opening Roadmap.sh. So try to build the HTML structure of that. Try to build how the page is going to set up. Like put all the divs in there. Put all the like semantic HTML tags in there, and build up the layout and everything in that manner. Once you're done with the HTML, then go to CSS. Then the same project that you picked up before, try to style it according to the visuals that you see on the website. And then once you're done with that, try to build 2-3 different projects, because with CSS now you can build some concrete websites that you can put in front of the people, like landing pages and stuff like that. And then learn maybe Git and GitHub, and then build some projects, and then try to make them open source so that you can get help from the community as well. And also you can show it up into your portfolio and stuff like that. So don't delay the projects. Start building as soon as you can start. And you don't have to build something completely new or something from the scratch. So look at the projects that you're using, some websites that you're using. Don't go to some really complicated visuals. Let's say that don't go to Facebook or Twitter and try to make the timelines or stuff like that. So you have to build like some maybe static landing pages, and then get some idea, and then start building more complex over the time. You can start with the tutorials as well, but the important thing is like you don't have to stay with the tutorial. So let's say that I'm watching a tutorial which is helping me make a landing page. So I will pause the video, make the same thing with by hand as well. Pause the video, make it by hand, complete the video, and don't stop it there. Now forget about the video and try to build your own project. if you get stuck, go and watch the video again, and wherever you were stuck, take the idea from there, but build it by your hand, and try to like build 2 to 3 projects after watching the video, which are different from the video as well. So I think if you keep watching the videos and try to build whatever they are like teaching in the video, you will get stuck in this tutorial hell, and you will be only like tied to the knowledge that you were given into this video. So try to build some other stuff as well.
I like that. Yeah, that's really good actually, because I think a lot of people wait maybe too long before they start building anything. I like this idea of building something even when you only know HTML, because really that's a fully responsive landing page you can build with HTML. Yes, it's not going to be the prettiest thing in the world, but it will do the job. So why not get started? I suppose my only question is it wise to stick with the same project as you learn new technologies and kind of build it up? Or would you recommend building something new for each technology you learn?
It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be the same project. So let's say, for example, if I'm looking at the roadmap.sh, so it's a static website, right? So I can build the same thing with HTML, CSS, but there's not much interactivity, right? So I cannot use JavaScript. So it depends on the project. So like if it excites you, so let's say that I'm learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and my goal is to build, let's say, some static site generator, or a place like Medium where someone can go and put up the blog posts and stuff like that. So if you are excited about the project, you can keep building on that, but you should not like let that drag you. So for example, if I'm not excited about building this anymore and I want to build something else, you can go ahead with that. So your goal is learning. So pick up your goal, whether your goal is to learn something or you build something. So stick to that goal. So don't, if the project you think that it is dragging you, just go and pick something else. The important thing is to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that can trip people up a lot. And what you mentioned earlier about don't go and try to clone Twitter or Facebook or anything like that. Just keep it within the scope of what you can do. Obviously, it's nice to push yourself a bit from time to time as well, but it's easy to get overwhelmed if you take on too big of a project. Equally, if you're finding a project boring or you're just tired of it, then yeah, move on. Why not? Yeah, great advice.
And one important thing I would like to add is like Git and GitHub. Most of the people, they wait for it. Like they wait for GitHub or open source. Like most of the time they think that I cannot contribute to open source or I cannot make open source projects because I don't know anything. So my advice for them is that don't wait for too long. So as soon as you have learned HTML, pick up Git and GitHub and learn the basics and create your GitHub profile. Now, whatever you're learning, make projects according to that. So let's say that I'm learning HTML. A lot of people don't know about the like accessibility side of the HTML thing. So try to make some project according to that. Try to build some project. For example, a lot of people don't know about how to properly lay out the HTML tags in a semantic way. So you can build a project on top of that. So maybe you can document, for example, learn HTML, like HTML guide for humans or something like that. So whatever you've learned, you can teach it from your GitHub repository. So start, like create your GitHub profile early on and try to build projects on that as well. So this would be like another advice. While you're building projects, try to work on Git and GitHub as well. Because when you're going to join some company later on in the future, like you're spending most of your time on the version control or the like GitHub and GitLab or Bitbucket or whatever VCS system that they use.
Yeah, because GitHub is one of those things that the longer you leave it, the harder it is to get into it. Because if you find that, oh yeah, I'm a whiz on React and JS and everything, but you still don't know how to learn GitHub, you've kind of reached the point where you feel like you should know it. But if you haven't touched it before, then how can you know it? So I like this advice about getting in there early, even with just HTML and CSS maybe. The other benefit of doing that is you're then building up a nice GitHub history, which you can show people in interviews or when you're applying for jobs. If it says you've been active for however many months and you've got those green squares, I think that always looks good. Yeah. And hello from Ukraine. Hello to you. Thanks for joining. Hello from Paris. Woo, lovely. Brilliant. Farah says, back in 2023. Yes. Question from Saeed. I've been using this roadmap. That would be this roadmap for some time now, and I'm overwhelmed by the amount of things I haven't learned yet. Guzal says the same thing. Roadmap looks a little overwhelming. So we touched on the fact that this can be used by people of any level. So this is not just, you don't need to know all of this to become a junior developer. I think if that were the case, probably no one would manage it. But I did want to ask you the question, Kamran, of what is the best way to approach learning all these technologies and tackling this roadmap, I suppose?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, like building projects is the one way. Like whenever you're learning something, so I know we are going to change this roadmap. Like we'll have beginner, intermediate, and senior. So if you're learning something, so you don't have to look at any of the roadmaps. Roadmaps are good to have a starting point, but pick up something and then just start from there. Forget about all the roadmaps. So roadmaps come later on. So start with something, like learn the basics of the language that whatever you're learning, and try to start building projects. And Google, whenever you're learning, for example, if I'm building, let's say, a medium like blogging application or something. So I start with HTML and CSS. I build the landing page. I build something. So now I need the backend. So let's say from the roadmap I pick Node.js. So it says that pick Node.js for backend or whatever it is. So integrate that, and then for example now you need a database. So pick the language from, like pick the technology from here, whatever you need for your project, and focus on building your project. Don't focus on learning or covering the roadmap. Don't focus on ticking all the boxes within the roadmap. The main important thing is like building something, and you will learn everything along the way. And someone said that they are overrun by looking at the roadmap, so they don't see themselves progressing. So this roadmap is not a gold standard, so you don't have to tick all the boxes to say that I'm now a front-end developer. So like if you know like some of the stuff in there, like HTML is important, CSS is important, JavaScript is important. If you know the blue boxes, and starting from the top, you can start looking for a job at version control and the repo hosting services. So you don't need to go below that to find a job. So you can start applying for a job when you're here. Now, if you look at the items below that, for example, this gray box, you don't need the web security knowledge early on, so you can leave it for the future. Go and like learn it in the future. Package managers and NPM, so it looks like too much, but you can learn it easily, like maybe in 10, 15 minutes. It's nothing. So like for example, CSS architecture, you don't need to learn. CSS preprocessors, you don't need to learn now. The build tools also, like most of the items that are here, like they look too much, but you can learn them easily, like within like 15 to 30 minutes. So don't get overwhelmed by this roadmap. So don't think that you need to tick all the boxes. The important thing is like you should be able to build something and start applying for jobs. And you will learn most of the stuff at the job. So you don't need to like wait to get the job so that you have all the boxes checked before you look for a job.
Nice. So I suppose you could think about it a bit like a menu. At some restaurants you go to, and the menu can seem really overwhelming because it's 15 pages of tons and tons of options. But then when you actually narrow it down to, okay, well, I'm not interested in a starter, and I know I'm not having a dessert, so right, I've already obliterated 4 options. And then you can narrow it down to, do I want meat? Do I want vegetarian? And then approach it that way. Also, this tip about...
The important is like, you should know what you don't know. So when you're going through the roadmap, for example, if you are at like package managers, you are at the purple box NPM. So go and read like what it is about, and does it fit into what I'm working on? If it doesn't fit, you can skip it for now, and you can come back to it later in the future. So take it in this way. Like don't think, like as you said, like don't think that this is a menu, now I have to eat everything. So you have to take it step by step.
Yeah, exactly. Also, what you said about some of these things can be picked up really quickly. Like you can watch a YouTube video on BEM, for example, that wouldn't take you too long. And yeah, some of these are alternatives like GitHub. If you know GitHub, well, maybe eventually you might need GitLab, but it's going to be quite easy to transition over. So very nice. This idea of starting to apply for jobs, I think you mentioned around the version control system time point, I suppose. This is a question we get quite a lot on Scrimba. When should I start applying, or how will I know when I'm ready? And our response is always, if you're asking that question, you're probably getting quite close to being ready. Is it ever too early to apply for jobs, in your opinion?
I don't think so, because most of the companies, like when you're applying as on the internee position or the junior position, they expect you to not know everything. So they know that they have to teach you. So as soon as you have learned HTML, CSS, maybe don't even wait for JavaScript and stuff like JavaScript or the VCS or GitHub. Start applying for the job as soon as possible. But don't get frustrated if you don't get replies. So for example, I remember when I was getting started early on in my career, I applied to maybe 100 jobs and only like 1 or 2 replied. So just keep applying, just be persistent and focus on learning and start applying on the job. Maybe like say that I'll apply, like I'll spend 1 hour daily for applying jobs and rest of the time, like I'll be spending on learning or something like that. So focus on learning, but keep applying as soon as you have learned HTML and CSS for the internee or the junior positions. If you get a job, fine. Otherwise, just keep learning. You will find a job eventually. Or you can use also like GitHub as a way to get a job as well. For example, find the companies who have GitHub repositories on GitHub and try to contribute to the projects that they have on the GitHub which you can contribute to. And you can use this as a way to get into the things that they're working on. And then once you know the people that are there, you can reach out to them as well, that I contributed to your project. I like what you're doing or whatever. Just like if you have any opening for the internee, this position or whatever, you can get the job in this manner as well. But again, focus on learning and keep applying. You'll find a job eventually.
Oh, interesting. So using GitHub as a kind of platform for finding jobs via open source. That's interesting. Do you have any advice on how to find open source projects you can contribute to? Because you may know it's Oktoberfest this month, which is a open source initiative. You have to basically contribute to open source, and then you can plant a tree or usually get a t-shirt, whatever it is. One question we get quite a lot on Scrimba is, okay, cool, but how do I find these organizations or companies to contribute to? What would you advise these people, Kamran?
So Oktoberfest is one way, like go and find out like if you can find any projects in there. There's a website called Good First Issues as well. So you can filter like all GitHub with the label issues labeled Get Good First Issues. You can find the issues on that topic. Or for example, if you're using something, let's say I'm using GitHub, not use GitHub, let's say I'm using NPM, or let's say I'm using Bootstrap or some CSS library, you can go to that repository on GitHub. You can find the issues that you can like fix, like maybe find good first issue or whatever, and then see like what issues you can help with and try to contribute to those issues. And one important thing also is like when you are picking up a repository that you want to contribute to, make sure that you see like how many open issues are there, how many pull requests are there. Is the maintainer of the repository even replying to the people who are opening pull requests? Should I even go and open a pull request? Will it be looked at or no? So make sure that you look at that stuff, if the repository is maintained, if the pull requests are being merged, or if the contributor is applying, and then you go and open a pull request.
Yeah, that's very important actually, because you don't want to be spending a load of time fixing something for someone and then maybe they're not even looking at the pull requests or anything. So make sure your valuable time is being used valuably. Question here from Darjal asking, what about DevOps for front end? I can see that there is indeed a DevOps roadmap. Can you talk us a bit through what the difference is between the DevOps one and the front end one? And if there's any main tips you would have for Darjal who's interested in DevOps?
Yeah, so there's no comparison between front end and DevOps. So DevOps is a topic which is mainly for the backend guys. But for the front end tool, for the front end side of the thing, so there are a lot of tools which abstract away all the topics that are listed in the DevOps. For example, now there is Vercel, there is Cloudflare Workers, and there are different topics like different platforms like this, where you don't even need to worry about the things which are listed on the DevOps side. For example, if you want to deploy your front end project, you can deploy it on Netlify, on GitHub Pages, on Cloudflare Workers. So if you're a front end developer and you're getting started, you don't need to worry about the DevOps. But if you want to learn about the DevOps side of the thing, so you can start with some backend language, learn about the databases, and then you can go with the DevOps, because it is mostly with the backends and the servers and the Linux, Unix, and all this stuff. So you need some backend knowledge to get started with this.
Nice. Okay. Roadmap link, says Marco. Here it is. Roadmap.sh front end. Well, that's the front end one. There are various other ones you can check out as well. here they all are. Brilliant. I will come back to this question from Will. But first, I had a question here from Niall. If you apply too early and your skills aren't there, you'll burn bridges during the interview, says Niall. So I think what they're getting at is if you apply too early, you don't quite have all the skills, then you won't be able to apply again in the future when you do have them. What would you say to that?
I don't think this is a valid argument because most of the time, I mean, if you like don't apply on a position that you don't have the skills for. Like let's say that I have a position for like principal front-end engineer and I'm running only HTML and CSS for now, and I go and apply for the principal front-end engineer position. So make sure that the position that you're applying for, like you have the like some of the skills that are listed in there for that position. And like most of the companies, like they give you time as well. They understand, for example, if I apply for let's say Facebook and I don't pass the interview, like I don't pass, they give me like 6 months. After that, I can apply again. So make sure that the position that you're applying for, it is somehow relevant to you as well. So I'm a front-end developer. I'm applying for the front-end developer position. I don't apply for the back-end position or stuff like that. And the second thing is yeah, I mean, I have never seen this, like you don't burn the bridges by applying and then preparing the interview. They give you the time, like you can apply again after some time.
Yeah, I think if anything, it might make you seem more attractive as a candidate. If you didn't get the job because you don't have certain skills, you've gone away and now you have those skills, and then you reapply, it shows that you're really interested in that company. So I don't think it would burn bridges. And frankly, if a company is saying no to you just because you've applied at some point in the past or even distant past, then you probably don't want to work for them anyway. So yeah, hope that helps. Ooh.
Actually, for me, if I talk about me, like I also have scenarios in the past where it had been helpful for me. So like early on in the career, I used to apply for a lot of positions where I was not even like relevant for me. I went into the interview and then they would know, like, for example, I'm passionate, I don't know about this, but I am passionate about some topics. So either they would like give me a chance or they would give me the tips, for example, how can I learn and improve my my skill set for this position or some other skills in different companies. So this is also like for as a like opportunity for you to get the idea from the interviewees as well to see like how you can improve.
Yeah, that's it. If you don't get the job, then hopefully you'll get some feedback about what it is you're missing and what you can learn next. Yeah, good stuff. Phantom X is wondering, what's the average time to become a front-end dev? I'm going into my 3rd month now. I'm currently learning React. Would I be ready to apply in my 4th month? So I guess we don't know for sure what you already know, Phantom X, but let's assume Phantom X already knows HTML, CSS, and presumably JS. Sounds kind of reasonable to me. What do you reckon, Kamran?
Yeah, I think he's already a front-end developer. He doesn't need to wait for 4th month to be a front-end developer. So I mean, as I said, like there are different levels, right? So you are internee, you are junior, you are senior, intermediate. So you are maybe a junior front-end developer, but you are a front-end developer. Just start applying for the jobs, and like make sure to build projects and show them. Like make sure that you can show it off in your resume or GitHub profile or whatever it is.
Brilliant. Will is asking, where to learn advanced JS features? It seems like there's always more to learn, which is a good point, actually, because when can you really say that you've learned JS? I think the answer is never. I've never met someone who says, yes, I completely know all of JS, that's it now. So at what point can you consider that you have enough JS? And at what point should you go back and deepen your knowledge?
Yeah, so you never learn anything. I mean, it's not about JavaScript, so you always keep learning. So for example, for me, I've been in the industry for the past 10 years, but still every day I learn something new. So you can never say that you have learned everything. So you can always, as you said, you can always learn enough that you can get the job done. For JavaScript, we also have a roadmap for JavaScript as well. If you go to the website, roadmap.sh/JavaScript that we recently added. So yeah.
There we are.
Here. And if you look at the top, we have the topics tag like beginner, intermediate, or the advanced. And we have the topics in there as well. You can click and get the idea about the topics from there, and you can go to the website and learn those topics.
Very nice.
It's still a work in progress, so we don't have a lot of content in there. But yeah, you can maybe this could be one way. The other way is like go to MDN. They also have the separation between intermediate, senior, and junior, so you can get the topics idea from there as well.
Really, MDN.
Yeah, MDN also, like MDN docs, they have like separation. I saw somewhere it's hidden somewhere, but they have.
Oh, I have to have a look for that later. Interesting. But yeah, for now, definitely check out this roadmap. Excellent advice. I hope that helps you out there. Will. Another question I was planning to ask, which Janath has beaten me to. How much DSA is required for a front-end developer? So that would be data structures and algorithms. What's your take on this, Kamran?
So I think the most common data structures you should know. So you don't have to go really deep into, for example, like really complex algorithms in the data structure. So at least a common data structure like arrays, stacks, tables, stacks, hash tables, queues, linked lists. So you need to know about this and the big O term, like big O, or the how to calculate the algorithmic complexity. So I think this is the bare minimum that you should know. Like you don't need to go really into depth and learn about, for example, like really complex algorithms. You also have a YouTube series on that where I explain this and with the help of visuals and the illustrated diagrams, so you can get the idea from there as well. But yeah, learn about the basics, learn about the this algorithmic complexity, and that's it for like in the beginning at least.
Brilliant. I hope that helps. The eternal DSA question. Amin is wondering whether Figma or FigJam is necessary for making conceptual web design pages, or HTML and CSS is enough. I think I will broaden that question to, do you need to know Figma to apply as a front-end developer?
I think it is good to know like how Figma works, but yeah, you don't need to. So I know a lot of front-end developers. I have a lot of friends who don't know any of Figma or FigJam, but they are still a good front-end developers. So like if you need to like conceptualize something before building, you can do it on the paper. You can use Balsamiq maybe, or some kind of wireframing tool. You don't need to really know, because this is like the job of the UI UX designers. But yeah, it's good to have some knowledge of Figma.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that you can watch a reasonably short video, maybe on 2x speed, and get a decent idea of how to use it, maybe play around a little bit. And then you've kind of got enough to be working with. You don't need to know the complete ins and outs of what it does and that. So yeah, get a vague idea, seems like. Faris is asking, internship, etc. Which I think means, would you recommend internships? So let's talk about unpaid internships. There's always a controversy about whether you should work for free. Some people say, no, you should never work for free because it's your time. Other people say, yeah, but you're basically getting paid to learn. What do you think, Kamran?
I think it varies. Like, yeah, I don't see like most of the companies, like if they are asking you to do internship for free, that's like red flag early on. Like most of the companies, they pay you as well. Like internships are mostly paid. But yeah, if you don't if you are not, and you see, like, give it a go, maybe like spend a week or so. If you see that you're learning a lot that you could learn on your own, and the internship is good, then you can maybe like join them for a week or 2 weeks and then leave them after that if it doesn't work out. But yeah, it depends.
Yeah, I think the length of it's quite important, because if you're tied down to something for 1 or 2 years without any pay, then that's a big commitment. But a week or 2, I think, could be a really good learning curve. Yeah. How to get rid of tutorial hell, says Suban. So for anyone not familiar, lucky you. This is when you follow tutorials and it's all going well, but then when you try and build something on your own, you find you really struggle. How can people overcome that?
I think we touched on this before as well. So start working on something. As I mentioned, like when you're watching some tutorial, try to hand code that whatever you're learning in the tutorial, and then go and build something else which is somehow similar to the tutorial that you are building. So let's say that you are watching a tutorial on making a to-do list. Now go and build some blogging application where you could like write Markdown or whatever post, and you could publish it. And then if you get stuck, go back to the tutorial and see, like, for example, I was learning how to connect to databases. Go and see like how you can connect to database from the, like in the tutorial, how the guy is connected to the database. And then go and apply that. If you still get stuck, go and watch some other tutorial and try to hand code that as well. Try to do that 3-4 times and then build something else. And build that 2-3 times, and then some like eventually you will get the idea. But yeah,
So
projects.
This, I think, goes some way towards answering Will's question, which is what to do when I get stuck on a project. Because that can be so disheartening, can't it? When you've learned a certain amount of stuff and then you want to build something and then you find you just get stuck on that and you go back to the tutorial and you still can't get unstuck. What would you advise Will with this?
So as I mentioned, like on that, if you get stuck, for example, find some tutorial which is teaching somehow something similar and try to get the topic that you're interested in from that. So let's say that I'm building this application which needs authentication. Try to find something, some other application, like full application on Git, YouTube video or something which has the same topic, and try to pick that topic from there. So this is one thing. The other way is like go to Stack Overflow and post your question there, and which is not always helpful. But yeah, and the third way is like find a mentor and try to ask them like how they can, if they can help you.
Yeah, I have another suggestion to add, which is you can join the Scrimba Discord server. Shameless plug. Because we have, as of yesterday, switched our help channels into forums. Yes, here they all are. And yes, I do use light mode, and I will not apologize for it. Yes, we have a JavaScript help channel, a design one, an HTML and CSS one, a React one, and an other code help one. Very nice. So come along to our friendly community and say hello. No question is too silly. Yes, I do think it's important to reach out to people where you can. Stack Overflow if you're brave enough. But if not, head on over. Here we are, waiting to answer some of your questions. Brilliant.
And also, yeah, finding, I typed on that, like finding a mentor is also really important. Like if you're able to find someone, like you'll be surprised, a lot of people are really willing to help you. So if you reach out to people, let's say on Twitter and all these places, they do like reply. That's what I did. Like early on, like there was a, like I was learning from the CS50 course, which was taught by Harvard. And I was stuck on something and I reached out to like instructor of this course, like David Mellon. And I was surprised that he replied to me, like, even though I had nothing to do with Harvard or CS50, like at all. I was just watching it on YouTube. So he replied to me, like, you'll be surprised, like reach out to people, try to find a mentor. Like people do help.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I think people often think it's really hard to find a mentor. And if you're talking about finding someone to whom you can say, hello, will you be my mentor? And then saying yes, maybe that would be difficult. But it doesn't have to be that formal. It can just be asking someone a question on Twitter or maybe in a YouTube comment or something like that. Just start small, I would say. Yeah. Nice advice there. Which one should I go to next? Okay, I'll go to Slav first, because that's an easy one to answer. Can we get access to the video at the end? Are you recording it? Yes, it will be available at this link. I hope that helps. Thanks, lady. I'll keep that. I don't know if that's to me, but good, if it is. Sonia wants to know, do React certificates help to support your career? I suppose we could talk about certificates generally. What do you reckon of that, Kamran?
I think they don't, I mean, it's good to have them, but they don't help at all. So for example, I was a gold medalist in my university. I had this Bachelor of Software Engineering, but never in my career, I was even asked, like, do you have like formal education or formal certificate to show you just have to know like how to pass the interview, how to answer the questions. And that's the important part. Like no one asks you like about your certificates or whatever it is. So like important is like if you have your portfolio, if you know, like if you're able to pass the interview, that's it. Like that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely more important to have knowledge than to have certificates. It is interesting though. We interview on the Scrimba podcast Scrimba students who have landed jobs. This is Stevie, recently got hired as a junior developer, and he said that he completed the front-end career path. Here it is on Scrimba, and you get a certificate at the end, and it's not a formal certificate at all. It just shows that you've completed the path, and shared it on LinkedIn. And a recruiter or hiring manager found that really interesting, and that's how they managed to connect. So you never know. I think if you get certificates, then they're certainly not going to hurt your chances, but not make or break. So yeah, good advice. Demo Dev is wondering, do we need to know all the CSS frameworks? I can't actually see them now. Oh, here they are. We have Bootstrap, Bulma, Mantina, Tailwind, Chakra UI, and so on. What would you say to that, Kamran?
So if you look at the legends on the roadmap, so we have a purple item in here. So these green ones are just the alternatives. So this is my recommendation, like go with Tailwind and that's it. So you don't need to learn the rest of them. But maybe, yeah, you don't even need the same like CSS framework. Like in the modern day, like most of the people are like trying to do like hard coding, like hand coding the CSS. So maybe you don't need the framework at all. But if you want a framework, like go with Tailwind. That's my recommendation. You don't need to learn all the frameworks which we have listed in here.
Yeah, that's it. And I think if you have a really good foundational knowledge of CSS, then it's going to be pretty easy to learn any framework that you might need on the job. So it's more important to make sure you've got that building block of vanilla CSS, if you want to call it that, rather than focusing on learning all the different potential frameworks which you might never use.
Yeah, the problem is like people jump too early onto the next thing and they don't learn the basics. So, for example, if I know, if I tell you about it, like currently, like if the React is the next hot thing, right? So most of the people, they go directly to just React. They forget about JavaScript. They just learn some basics, like how to create functions, how to create variables, and they just start with the React. And there's the thing that bites you in the future. So if you get the basics out, for example, React might not be that famous after some time. So maybe there is Solid.js or whatever it is. So learn the basics. This is the topics that are evergreen. I mean, this is going to help you in the future. Like whatever framework is there, you know the JavaScript. You can just pick it up easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Which brings me to another question I found earlier. Oh, I've got too many good questions going on in the chat. I can't find it now, but the question was, should I learn JS before I learn React? I would say definitely yes. Would you agree with that?
Yes, definitely. I mean, you need to know JavaScript. If you look at the JavaScript roadmap that we have, you should know at least the purple items in there, like the beginner items, and then pick up JavaScript, pick React.
Well, that's good to know, actually, because another question we get is, how do I know when I'm ready to move on to React? So here you go. Definitely the purple items. Brilliant.
Green item, not the purple one, sorry. The junior ones, like the green ones.
No, the green ones. Even better. Yes. I hope that helps. Yeah. Why did Scrimba zero down mostly on front end rather than back end? Because it provides more opportunities? And no, I don't think it was about how many opportunities it provides. It was what we could currently do with the technology when we launched. So we are working towards offering backend. We hope to make that live in 2023, but for now, it's just front end. So yes, I hope that helps. Next question is from the very appropriately named No Quit. How do we fight burnout in coding and keep motivated to keep going? Any tips on this one, Kamran?
So I think having a schedule is important, and make sure that you are like doing things like you're interested also in doing what you're doing. So for example, let's say that I'm learning something in the front end. Let's say I'm learning React. So I don't spend like, I'm sitting day and night on the laptop, I'm learning React. So set some schedule and make sure that if you feel that you are not interested anymore, just give it some time, go and do something else and get back to it afterwards. And to keep you motivated, work on some project, as I said. Like while you're learning, don't wait to learn React and then build some project. Build something interesting that is your problem as well and try to build that project. So for example, I was learning about Python some time ago. So to learn Python, I didn't just learn Python and then wait for it to build the project. So I started working on this. If you go to the Automate, there's open source project that I have. I can show you as well. So let me just share my screen. Sorry. Yeah, this one. So I was learning about Python. So instead of like waiting to learn Python and build something, so this is the tool that you can like it takes a configuration file and it sets up the terminal for you. So for example, I can do automate-c configuration file. It will set up the terminal for me with the project that I have. So instead of learning, so I had this goal that I need to build this. So to do that, I started working on this and I learned Python along the way. So do this. So like pick up a project that is interesting for you or some problem that you have, try to solve that with the language that you're learning and work on that. This way you'll keep yourself motivated as well that you need to finish this thing that you're going to use and then avoid the burnout as well. For example, if you're learning React, let's say, try to build some like task management or to-do management. Let's say that you have issue with the time tracking. So try to build the time tracking application, start building it early on and learn it like the feature that you need with the React along the way.
That's good advice there about building something which solves your own problem or just something you're interested in. Like I said, it doesn't have to solve a problem per se, but if it's something which interests you and you're passionate about or something you need, then it's going to be much easier to be motivated to do it. And even if nothing comes of it in the end, in terms of getting a job, at least you've solved your own problem. So win-win there. Brilliant. One question here, which is, from Nigeria, I need the best website or book to learn algorithms. Now, when I've spoken to, I have a senior dev on this live stream occasionally, and he always gets asked that question. He always recommends this one. One moment. It'll be worth the wait, I promise. Here we go. Grow King Algorithms. I haven't read it. It's not a personal endorsement, but it is recommended by a senior developer, so can't be that bad. Do you have any other resources you'd like to share, Kamran?
Yeah, this book is actually quite nice. I haven't read all of it as well. I read some of it, and it is quite interesting. Like it is explained, like he has explained the algorithms and the data structures in a really good way. But if you can't pay the amount that they have there, there's a lot of good content on YouTube as well. So for example, as I mentioned, like I have a series on the data structure and the algorithm on my channel as well on YouTube, where I teach the data structure and algorithm, or you can find some other courses as well. For example, HackerRank also has a nice series on the data structures and algorithms. You can use that. There's also a channel called CS Dojo. He has also some nice videos on the data structure and algorithm. So find some like topics there on YouTube. You can easily find like good resources on there as well.
Oh, nice. Yes, here we are. Video on data structures from Kamran. So go and check that out. I hope that's helpful. Oh, Dope Tag has an interesting question. CSS degree without a great portfolio versus a great portfolio without a CS degree. Which one would get the job, do you think, Kamran?
It would be great portfolio without CS degree. I mean, you don't need the CS degree. CS degree is important. So for example, I would not say that my degree was not helpful for me at all. So I was able to make connections. I was able to like get the exposure onto different things. I was able to get the CS idea, like computer science, like from the degree as well. So this is important, but you don't really need that to get a good job. But yeah, you also need a CS degree for like, let's say that if you're looking for a job which is not in your hometown. So most of the time, like most of the skilled visas into different countries, they need the degree as well. So it is important for that. But if you're looking for a remote job or like some job in your hometown, like most of the time, they don't even need the degree. They don't even look at the degree. So they just need the like great portfolio and to be able to pass the interview.
Sonia asked the same question, or similar question. What do you think about CS degrees? Are they necessary? And of course, there are some companies and some roles that will absolutely require a CS degree, but there are also many, many companies which don't require it. And then there's also companies which say that they require it, but actually, if you apply and you've got a nice portfolio, you've made some decent projects and you've got the knowledge, they might well overlook it. So why not just try? Yeah. I hope that helps. Ooh, very nice. Another question is, on the topic of portfolios, what do you call a good portfolio? And how can you show your skills on it? Yeah. What would you say to that, Kamran?
So good portfolio, I mean, it should be like of certain complexity. The project that you're like that you have worked on, it should be like certain complexity. It should not be like simple to do application or like things like that. You should have like certain complexity in the project that you're solving. Like we should have like some real world usage as well, which is going to be applied at different companies. So let's say that if I'm applying for a job of front end developer, and if I have a really like good like facial recognition library that I have written in C++, it does good look on my portfolio. It is good as well, but maybe it is not really the company that I'm applying for. Maybe they're not really interested in that. They're interested in my knowledge as a front end developer. So like certain complexity should be there. It should have like real world skills implemented. If it is a GitHub project, like yeah, the code base should be good. It should be well documented, and yeah, that's about it, I think.
Brilliant. Hope that helps you out with your portfolio there. One question which I think we can link back nicely to the roadmap, which is, what is a senior front-end dev? And which tools or technologies, I guess, should we know to become a senior? So if we were to look at the roadmap here, so you mentioned earlier, Kamran, that once you get to the version control systems, that's when you can start applying for junior jobs. Is there a similar point in this roadmap where you would consider it to be senior stuff?
Sure. So if you know about the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, version control, so that's the basic. So this gives you the junior item, like junior position. If you go a little bit ahead and you learn about the build tools, and let me can you open the front end roadmap, or let me open
it? This one? Oh, right, I'm not sharing.
Yeah,
there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know about the package managers, you know about, let's say, build tools, and you know about the framework. I think you are intermediate already, so you don't need like most of the stuff after that. Yeah, the CSS frameworks, not many companies need that. Modern CSS, not many companies need that. Testing also, yeah, it is important as well. So we learn testing as well. After that, you don't need web components. You don't need the type checkers. It is becoming now more and more famous. TypeScript is getting more and more familiarity, more and more fame. So TypeScript is important as well, but not necessary. But yeah, all the blue items, like purple items, if you know that, you should be like the intermediate, like senior developer.
Good to know. Thank you. I found this to be helpful. Yay. Oh. Saihan says, full stack or front-end dev? Is it necessary that I know back-end? For front-end, I would say no. For full stack, I would say yes. At least to some degree, probably not to the degree you would need to be a fully back-end dev. But then this also does depend on the company, I think, because some companies would consider a full stack dev someone who has to do absolutely everything, in which case, yes, you would need to know it. Do you have any thoughts on this question, Kamran?
Yes, I mean, the full stack dev needs the backend as well. Front-end dev doesn't need the backend items at all. But yeah, the like backend developers, you need to have a lot of knowledge in the backend. You have to have really in-depth knowledge. But full stack developers, they know like a bit of front end, a bit of backend. They know like intermediate knowledge. They have intermediate knowledge of both. But yeah, DevOps, like full stack is also like a term which is also widely used, but they have a lot of people have different like definitions for that. Like some people believe that you should need to have front end, like front end, back end, and the DevOps knowledge. Some believe that you need to have the front end and back end knowledge. And like there's also like separation between how much front end and how much back end you know. Like some think that you should know like all the back end and all the front end. Some things that you should know some back end, some front end. Some should be like full front end heavy, some on the back end as well. But it varies from company to company.
Yes, absolutely. Mark says, oops, if I were to make a web page, would that help me in getting a job role? It certainly wouldn't hurt. Yes, I think that's a great first step. So go for it. Zoni asks, where can I find the link to this front-end developer roadmap? You can find it here. Roadmap.sh/frontend. And a question here to finish off from, or about, the front-end developer career path at Scrimba. I'm on module 7, this one. Is it okay to jump to the React module? I would strongly recommend doing the APIs and the Flexbox and Grid modules at some point. But if you're just really, really interested in going to do React right now, then I'm pretty sure you don't necessarily need modules 9 and 10 in order to do module 11. You can go back and do them later. I hope that helps. But yeah, definitely don't skip the APIs because it will pay off later. And well, that's all we have time for now. But just wanted to let you all know that next week, I will be joined by 3 more successful Scrimba students. Yeah, we have Jefferson, who used to be a doctor and is now a developer. We have Kaidem, who works for Amazon now. And we have Tom, who was studying the front-end developer career path and is now a teacher on it. Yes, we'll be going live at the earlier time of 2 p.m. next Wednesday. So if you fancy coming along and getting some advice from successful Scrimba students who have become developers, oh, there's Kaida. Hello. Yeah, come along. Yeah, so I got distracted there. Hit subscribe so you don't miss out on future live streams. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for coming along, Kamran. Do you have any closing thoughts for our budding developers?
Thank you for having me, Leanne. I would just say that I would wish best of luck to them. And again, like just get started. Like don't look at any roadmaps. If you're looking to be any developer, like pick up the topics, start building projects. And once you're starting to build projects, then look at the roadmap and then grow from there. But focus on projects and always have a side project, and this is how you learn all the time.
Perfect. Yes. Thank you once again for coming along, and I hope to see you all next time. And if I didn't answer your question, I'm very sorry. I get so many brilliant questions on these streams, but thank you for coming along and asking them anyway. Yes. See you all later. Bye, everyone.